everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Hey, good morning, Rooted Men. Pastor Tom from the Rooted Ministries. I saw Glenn here. I just got it going for him. I set it up this morning and got the thing started. I'm going to get off. Oh, there he is. So I'm going to jump off here in a second, but I just want to say hi to all of you. I just wanted to make sure it was set up on StreamYard. Glenn, I'm going to bug out and you can bug in.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and see who's online today. We have, there we are, From the Rooted Greendale, good morning, Rooted Men. Rooted in Truth, good morning, men. Ken Gooch. Oh, there we are. Good morning, fellow brothers in arms. Bert Reggiani, good morning, gentlemen. Dave Donnelly, good morning. And Chris Conley, good morning. All right, so this morning we're going over, where are we at? Mark 4, 1 through 9. All right. Again, he began to teach by the sea, and such a very large crowd gathered to him that he got into a boat onto the sea and sat down. And the whole crowd was by the sea on the land. And he was teaching them as many things in parables, and was saying to them in his teachings, "Listen to this. Behold, the sower went out to sow. As he was sowing, some seeds fell beside the road, and the birds came and ate it up. Other seed fell on the rocky ground where it did not have much soil. And immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of soil. And when the sun had risen, it was scorched. And because it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns came up and choked it, and yielded no crop. Other seeds fell into the good soil. And as they grew up and increased, they yielded a crop and produced 30, 60, and 100 times as much." And he was saying, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." So this is Jesus being a teacher, walking around teaching and teaching in parables. So it starts out a very large crowd gathered. In that time, there obviously there weren't PA systems. There wasn't a way to broadcast yourself. And just to give you an idea how large the crowd was, he had to back up. So he and the disciples had to move back. So they're getting on that boat, and they're not just sitting on shore, but they're pushing out, and they're allowing their voices to carry over the water. Historically accurate for that time. So that's, how sound travels over water is what they were using here. So that, just to give you an idea of how big that crowd was, they actually needed that projection from that water to help carry the voice to everybody. He was teaching many things. So this specific thing that we went over is about the sower. Now, the parable of the sower is a parable based on God's word, right? And his disciples. The sower is spreading the seed. He's walking out and he's just throwing seeds, kind of haphazardly. How do we spread God's word? Is it something where we're only delivering it on Sunday? Do we only talk about God on Sundays? Do we only say God's good on Sundays? Or are we throwing the seeds haphazardly? Anyone can pick them up. Now, where are the seeds falling? So some fell beside the road, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground where it did not have much soil. It sprang up, but it wasn't protected. So those seeds took root, they grew, but they couldn't survive. Not everywhere we spread God's word is it going to stick. But we're still supposed to spread God's word. The seeds weren't protected. The sun rose, the seeds were scorched. They withered away and died. Other seeds fell in the thorns. It came up and it got choked. I know that's all too real. What happens with God's word when we're trying to spread it? Are there times, even maybe in our lives, where life seems to be choking out that word? Absolutely. But, and what's really the most important, the seeds that fell into good soil, as they grew up, they increased. as they yielded a crop. They didn't yield the normal crop. It produced 30, 60, and 100 times as much as it normally would. When we're out there spreading seeds, when we're out there spreading God's word, we're not expecting to get back the minimum. Not even get back what we put into it. When God works, he works in waves. He grows exponentially. Those seeds provided a crop back 100 times as much as normal. Started with 30, then 60, then 100 times. God's love, God's power, it works in waves. It's almighty. So again, gentlemen, let's get out there and spread that seed. Let's sow those seeds. Let's plant God's word. And let's see what God has in store for us. All right. I hope that devotional was a blessing to you. Let's see who else joined. Brian Flaming, good morning, man. Greg Ray, good morning or good night, Greg. All right. We will believe Pastor Tom will be back on for the 8:30 Strengthening Your Roots. As Aaron's down in Greendale this weekend. So we will join you all at 8:30. Peace.